So it's that time of year. The Santa hats are retired and the sparkling grape juice glasses get dusted off for yet another ball drop. And if you're on this side of YouTube, either your search history or algorithm is starting to fill with new year, new you sorts of videos. How to reinvent your life in 2026 and finally follow through with your resolutions. How to review your year. How to make the most of the next one. Year after year, during this time, I'm looking for an approach, one system, a single method to finally get control over my life in the new year. Thinking that somehow, in the final days of December, I'll be able to finally get on top of everything, plan my life out, and be ready for the new me to possess my body at midnight on New Year's. So I hit the books, and by books I mean YouTube, in order to see what people smarter than me have to say about how I should get ready for the new year. Over there is the GPS system, and that one's called the GAP system, and another about the 10 things that I should do this year in order to become a Renaissance man. And although I have a little loathing in my voice, these all sound great, and each sparks a little bit of inspiration. Like, of course that I want to be a Renaissance man in 2026, and there's 10 different things that I would love to get better in with the new year. But there's something that feels wrong this year. Usually, the new year starts out pretty good. I have something that I resolve to do. I start the digital detox or wake up earlier to read more and meditate. But the first day that something urgent comes up or I get a little bit behind, the guilt starts piling up. This year, I wanted it to be different. So I thought back to the content creators that I most enjoyed this year to see if they had any specific new year advice. But between authors Oliver Burkeman, Scott Young, Cal Newport, and Dr. Alok Kanoja, almost all of them were sort of anti-New Year's resolutions. But through their content, I got a better picture of what seems to happen to us year over year. It all starts with design, choosing the goals themselves, which breaks down into 3 problems that we often run into. First is that they come from the wrong place. Dr. K has a great perspective on this based on a quadrant of external versus internal drivers and sacrifice versus achievement. Desires and expectations, or wants and shoulds, Dr. K says are terrible motivators, whereas on the right side of the chart, duties and values are much more powerful motivators because they appeal to your internal drivers. But so often we fall into a trap of mimetic desire, where we see someone else doing something impressive and think that we want to do that too. Whether it be someone who's ripped on Instagram, easily curling 50s, or someone flexing their fat stacks of cash claiming that you too can be an agency owner, but for a price. The second issue here is design is biting off way more than we can chew. This was mentioned in nearly every single post that I read, but it's hard when you have so many different interests to have to temper your expectations on what you're able to actually make progress on without getting overwhelmed. David Epstein talks about the planning fallacy, where we plan out the best case scenario, the ideal day where we can fit in every single habit, routine, and resolution, but that rarely is ever able to play out. And by slimming down our options, it makes it much easier to decide what we should do with our time when we're actually in the day-to-day, deciding how we're going to be using our time. When we're overwhelmed by the 10 different things that we should be doing, it ends up being easier to just sit and scroll on our phones. And finally, number 3 is the shaky foundation that underpins it all, is that our current selves are trying to design something for our future selves to do. We start out creating resolutions at the very end of the year, delegating something for our future selves to start doing once we become that new us at the start of the year. Oliver Burkeman puts this beautifully, saying these systems that we try to set up invariably bear the hallmarks of their creator. That if we tend to always beat ourselves up for failing today, that's going to show up in the resolutions we try to create for our future self, and further keep that cycle going. There's this interesting study done by Hal Hershfield where they asked participants to describe themselves 10 years in the future, and other people, whether it be strangers or people that they know. And the neural patterns that they saw when they were thinking about one's future selves was much closer to when they thought about other people rather than when they thought about their current selves. So it's easy to defer to this other person, to say that they'll figure it out, or that they'll have it figured out when the time comes. But you never get to become them. You will always be your current self. You wake up on New Year's Day with the same set of problems, except this time now you have a whole bunch of additional responsibilities, and you're supposed to do this for the whole year? What the hell, past me? Granted, there's this fresh start effect, researched by Katie Milkman, that does fuel us with extra motivation to make behavioral change at the start of a year, a month, a week, or our birthdays. But it doesn't last for long. So say we do great our first week, then the second week comes and we end up comparing that week 2 self that's tired, has urgent stuff coming up, to week's 1 self who's had this fleeting burst of motivation on their side. And in comes the guilt of not being consistent, of not having the ever-elusive discipline, and at failing at our resolutions once again. Speaking of failing, the second key area that we usually get wrong when it comes to resolutions is not failing with grace. Failure is a part of the process, but too often we see failure and quitting go hand in hand. In our minds, we say, oops, I forgot to journal yesterday, I failed my resolution, so there goes my streak, and there goes my shot at ever trying to improve this year. Or it's something simpler, like you get sick and it interrupts your gym streak, and you just never get back into it until the fresh start comes around again and you have motivation to try once more. But failing at a resolution isn't just a bad final exam score, guess you gotta take the class all over in the fall sort of deal. All it is data. This set of actions, this attempt at this time with where I'm at in my life didn't end up working out. But our brains are hardwired for energy conservation, so it'll latch onto this failure and create stories in your head saying, see, you failed again this year, you should just stop trying, go sit down, extract some more dopamine out of your little black box, and try to suppress these negative emotions I'm giving you. David Epstein calls this the what the hell effect, where once we fail, we say, what the hell, and go crazy. We binge if we mess up when we're supposed to be eating healthy, or procrastinate all day long if we slightly mess up in the morning. Then our ego gets tied into this too, that we are a failure, and we try to avoid thinking about it altogether until we eventually forget what resolutions we even set in the first place. We avoid doing the thing that will apparently, hopefully, make a New Year's resolution actually work, which we might as well get into now. So, if New Year's resolutions, this way that we so often see with the vision boards and SMART goals, aren't it, what is? The thing that I'm going to be experimenting with this year is, well, experiments. But don't be fooled and think that we're just going to be using the scientific method as a way of goal setting, running little experiments like work out 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week for a month, and then say, that didn't work, and forget all about it. No, no, no. This year is about equal parts trying stuff and reflecting. I saw another video come up for me this week about setting experiments for the new year, and I thought, looks like I might not need to make this video after all. But nope. Here I am, because I feel like a lot of the content that's out there around experimentation is around the actual design of the experiments, being precise on what you're measuring, what actions you need to take. Whereas what I learned from the boys, my colloquial name for all of the accomplished authors that I mentioned earlier, is that it all comes down to what you learn from the actions that you take. Deciding what to do and actually doing it is only half the battle. The other half is taking the time to sit down and ask, how did this feel? Did this bring me closer to the life, the person that I want to be? If I failed, why did I fail? What were the obstacles, emotions, issues that came up? Am I able to get to my end goal in a different way through something that's more fun? This circumvents perfectionism, since instead of creating the perfect plan from the beginning, the plan that we have to follow the entire year, we're focusing on trying to figure it out with trial and error, throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, and learning through experience. Failure becomes a learning opportunity, an equally valuable result, since either way, you get data to work with. So what does this look like? For me, I bought this planner for 2026, the Hobonichi Techo, which I was in Japan and was able to buy without any shipping fees, get it tax-free, and with that good USD to yen conversion rate. But this can be done with any sort of notebook that you have on the shelf. And there's no structure or system that you need to follow, just a commitment to experimenting throughout the year. For me, that'll look like choosing something new to try out for the month, maybe a couple weeks, and do daily-ish journaling about it. Writing about what you're feeling, what you wish you could change in your life. Throw some ideas on the page about what you could try in order to change that. Go do it, and then come back and write about how it went each day. For me, on top of this meta habit of experimentation journaling, there's a basic productivity stack that I learned about in a Cal Newport episode with David Epstein that I'd like to try implementing. So I'm going to go give that a shot this January and see how that goes. I'll leave a link to the system that he talks about in the description, but let me know if you're interested in a review of how that works for me. So, it's not sexy. It's not an end-all, be-all, this is the way to fix your life, quick and easy, 1 pill a day. But it's a mindset, a way of going about your day-to-day with a little bit more self-forgiveness, meeting yourself where you're at instead of some future version of yourself that you wish you could be. It's as simple as checking in with yourself, listening to what you need, giving a shot at the answer, and being honest with yourself about the results. If you're interested in this little journey of mine, I might experiment with sending out a little monthly update on any content I post if you want to de-algorithm yourself in 2026, as well as how my experiment to experiment is going. That'll be the first link in the description, or you can just go to joesmusings.com. Further down in the description will be all of the favorite content that I read and watched about New Year's resolutions in prepping for this video, which I'd highly recommend even if you're already into the start of the year. Otherwise, subscribing right here on YouTube might put me in your feed a little bit more often if that's what you'd like to see. Liking the video tells me I should make more content like this, and commenting is the best way to let me know what you think if you're going to give this a shot this year, have any questions, thoughts, or just hate the look of my face. Now get out there and start failing, my little lab rats, and I'm gonna go watch the ball drop now. Are we good? Are we still recording? Oh, look at that, we're recording still. Hooray!